Well, at least they're brass nuts. No matter how hard I heated them up, I couldn't get them off this car. 53 Customline. I re-threaded all the studs. I got, you know, those, you can see those pieces of brass there, they all basically crumbled off. Oh boy, more headache. Look how short this bolt was. They're like all different lengths. But look at these thermostats. This had to be changed once, and they lost the bolts. Put a shorter one. But, my bigger problem is that snapped off bolt. And believe me, I was hitting it with a hammer. I hit all of them with a hammer. They all came out because you loosen the thing by doing that. There's not really much you can do with the spray coming in. You know, spray is not going to do anything. Now it will because I'm closer, but you know, because you can't get onto the threads otherwise with the water neck on. But that's going to be fun now. My battery's almost dead, but it's running awesome. I adjusted the timing. Got your radiator hoses on. I got new bolts in the water neck, and both water necks. Okay, jacked up the driver's side. Let's venture under your car and tell you what's good and what is bad. Okay. First things first. Put the light on. This is your U-joint, one of them. I don't know how much you can tell, but they're definitely bad. Some of this plate is in the tranny, but I'm trying to get the best place to do it and hold the foam just right. Yeah, right there. You can see this, you know, that part is moving independently. And I would bet, because that one usually wears out more, the one at the end, I'm sure it's worse. Okay, so that's one. One problem, that's not good. There's an inspection pan here I took down, okay? And it looks in very good shape over here with the flywheel. Looks like it's new. I'm looking at the clutch, and you can see there's a line in the middle. That's a steel plate in the middle. It's clutch material, even amounts on both sides. I see the reliefs on the flywheel side. It's a little hard to tell. Don't really see the reliefs on the other side. In any case, I see material on... That's a better shot. I see material on both sides, you know? The pressure plate side always wears out. So your clutch ain't in horrible shape. Now, this is your starter wheel there. And this thing is, today, it didn't make the noise that it was making it idle. And I realize it's this spring here, and whatever holds this piece in, it's supposed to put spring tension away from it, and it's just kind of flopping around. This is probably why it stutters, you know. Okay, so the last thing that is not a good thing, remember I told you it sounded like it was low on fluid? Well, the car's jacked up on the driver's side. The plug to fill it is on the passenger side. So right now, if it was completely full up to the level, it normally would be dripping out of here, you know. And this is where you drain it, down here. I try to tighten it up. It seems tight. You can see it looks wet. Looks like it slowly starts to leak out of there eventually, but it usually is nothing. But right here, you know, if it doesn't leak out right away, you get an idea of how low it is by sticking your finger in there and see when you come up with fluid, okay? So now, I put nearly my whole finger in there, and it's still dry. I got my pinky as far in as it'll go, and it's dry. So I'm going to fill this up with fluid. It should sound better, but it's like seeping out of everywhere. But, you know, it could take years to seep out. It's something that you have to constantly check it and make sure that it's good. Motor training mount seems okay. Yeah, so those are the things. So I'm gonna put some fluid in. I really can't test drive it because I gotta run. But maybe you should bring 2 U-joints tomorrow. Hopefully you can come in tomorrow because I really gotta get this car out of here. It's kind of in my way now, and the girl's not gonna like it. So I gotta kind of move it, and I gotta get to working in the garage. I just don't want to have the pressure of having it around. But it's just about ready to go. It's running great. I didn't do anything with this bracket, this muffler clamp that's really close to there. You know, I just opted not to, but it's actually not touching when you look at it properly. I'm trying to find the thing. Because from where I'm standing, you could see light right through, but I don't know if you could. Maybe better hold the phone back and then zoom in. Where is it? Yeah, I'm not getting the same. Yeah, right there. It's not touching. So I would have seen marks of it touching for the most part. Yeah, I mean, maybe on high acceleration or deceleration, it may, you know, wobble a little bit into that, but that's the least of your worries right now. So let me get to doing this, and we'll try to make a plan. So the only other elephant in the room I want to address is the oil pressure. I rev it. There's something. It sounds okay. And like I said, I ran it for like 2 minutes without any oil pressure because it lost suction because it was low on oil. But you can see it steadily goes down when you let it idle. So I'm kind of thinking this is an issue with the, I don't know if your filter is clogged. We should try doing that first. Maybe you gotta get a filter. And I don't know if you've changed it, you know, since like, how many times have you changed your oil on this car? Just curious. Because without revving it, you don't have any oil pressure. It goes up significantly when you rev it. And it runs better, but like I always notice the ignition breaking up when you go high revving it. And it's better, but it's not perfect. But I never trust those points. Also, we never changed the coil. That could be something, you know, to think about. But what do you call it? You let go of the gas, it idles nice and low. Actually, almost wanted to stall there. That's weird. Maybe the oil pressure is really affecting it. I don't know how high I can rev the. Oh, that's interesting. Can't be just cold, huh? So you put the choke on. Revved it up a little. Why is it running like it's going to stall? Alright, more things to look at now. Installed, I got it running again, but after I shut it off, it was dripping out a lot. See right there, you see a drip. So this carburetor, I just, you know what it is, it probably did that when I jacked up the car. So that's how sensitive it is. So I'm trying to loosen up the float by doing this. That's the whole trick, but that's about the best I can do. You know, it kind of needs a carburetor, it needs to be rebuilt. Just to let you know. Yeah, so after doing that, it's running okay. And it's a lower idling car. I was able to get it to idle low. I think it started to fuck up again. Oh boy. Come on, phone. I'm holding it like a light and it's not a light. Maybe the idle has to stay a little higher on this in case it stumbles because of the float or whatever's happening with the carburetor because it was running so good. filter's like really clogged if you haven't changed it. Boy, it drops to nothing. Oh, this is so painful. Oh. I can't tell you how many times I do this where I look at a drive shaft, okay, the U-joints are bad, and then I go look and I'm like, oh yeah, this is an old car. Chances are the pinion seal is junk, and sure enough, that's a drip. Oh boy, more work. So I'm gonna, it's not really rebuilding too much, it's just 2 bearings and these needle bearing things, and these are destroyed when they're dark and they're, you know, they almost have flat spots on them. That's but you know, the shaft is actually, the way they ride is very hardened, and it may get discolored, but it's not, you know, worn out. It's made like that to those take the abuse. These weren't as bad. These were on the counter shaft, but the front ones were definitely worse than the rear. The rears were actually good, because that was riding on the end of the shaft where only first and reverse go, but then the front bearing is bad. This thing pushes against here, and because those are bad and they're close to this, that's why it starts to wear those as well. Let's see. There we go. You can see it's not only pitted, that's like, there's one angle where you can actually see, yeah, I think it's that right there. You know, yeah, that's like a microscopic flat spot right there. But also, I mean, when you look straight on, this overall looks like it's flat right here, and it's mushroomed at the end. This is just one bearing. So what's happening, the whole bearing is going around instead of rolling around. And this is why, like, every single movement of this transmission just sounds so fucking loud. Now, if you get to a certain speed, it may start rolling at that point. But it's kind of lucky that it's not so bad. They ride on this guy, which I just polished with the Scotch-Brite pad. Hang on a second. And, you know, it looks a lot worse than looking at this, you know. But for the most part, you know, I believe it's usable, you know. It can get pretty nasty when you just keep driving like that. And then this is the inside part. This is the outer part that drives on. I cleaned it up, cleaned off all the black shit that was kind of get burned up on there. There's little pit marks, not here. This is casting, but it's deep inside there. That one with the hole, where the oil hole is. It's not the greatest, you know, but it overall feels smooth, and technically, you know, when you put the new bearings, and the new bearings are actually, you know, round, it should continue to roll in there. So you know, it's either that, or you gotta get a new input shaft and a new output shaft, which I believe they sell the input shaft. Like, I think it's the same as the Jeeps, but the Jeep has actually a longer one on the end for the Pilot. But it's definitely interesting. I gotta find those roller bearings for sure. Yeah, that was the one I just showed you with there's about 16 of them, I think. And then there's the skinny needle bearings, which actually, now that they're clean, they're looking better. Because if they're shiny, then they're good. So that might not be so bad to reuse. But definitely the main shaft was a problem. And probably you didn't hear it when you were in third gear. Because when it was in third gear, it the two shafts are locked together, so the bearing is not being used. So it's like, and then you go in the third gear, and it's straight. You know, they're both going at the same speed. Whereas when you go in low gear and second gear, you have a gear reduction there, so the front is spinning more than the second.
because it's going. But the thing is, most of the power is being transferred through the counter shaft then, which is over here. So you're talking about, you know, first gear, second gear, and then direct. You know, well, that's reverse, but in general, the sleeve goes over and engages the two shafts, and then this is not even being used. So it's pretty straightforward in that sense. Yeah, the bearings are no good, or the front and rear bearings, you know. The back one was better than the front, but the bushing in here is really bad, and that's why the drive shaft yoke is kind of, it's like completely lower here, and then it goes up right. Sorry, completely lower here, and then it goes up right there. So this is kind of discerning. This concerning, but you know, you can spend all day spending money on this, but you know, for the most part, I guess it could be worse. You know, I don't think it's blowing apart. It may have with those bearings. Those bearings were really bad. They were really bad. You know, but you know, there's other, like that one has a bushing in it. This one has a bushing in it. They look fine. You know, so there's some that's good considering that it's 70 years old. It's not so bad. You know, so pretty confident this is easy. You know, it'll be easy to put back together. The hard part's cleaning it all. All this stuff is a real pain in the neck to clean. So when you put all the ball bearings back, now granted there's no lube, it's definitely how it sounds when there's no, like at this point the bearings wouldn't make any difference. I don't think there's anything else but that in there, because there sure as hell wasn't nothing that came out, and there's a lot of parts. But I ordered the needle bearings, the other ones for the counter shaft, and these. Hang on. Nice to make sure that nothing kind of came out, although I feel like they're gonna fall. Like, it kind of looks like it's sitting. I just dropped it in there. Oh. Did I drop two? Oh well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I can't tell. No. Probably not counting it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Maybe I'm counting it wrong 3 times. 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Alright, 15. Anyway, yeah, so everything's cleaned up now. I tell you, this was just in the nick of time as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of, you know, things that can go wrong when you have this main bearing bad and this thing is flexing. Now in the third gear you don't hear it because it's engaged directly between the two. And, you know, with that being said, you know, a number of things can go wrong. You know, when you see the striations on all these gears, that means it's good. So I think we just got it, because any of those that fail, like this is the one with the most wear right here, and it grinded every time you put it in reverse. So this is the first gear that would interconnect with the with this reverse gear, which also has a little bit of wear, but you know, it has, you know, tapered teeth. It's kind of meant to slide. It's a little bit dirty still. Alright. Anyway, I have a feeling that, you know, between clutch adjustment or whatever, can maybe get reversed to be a little smoother. But just in general, just changing these, because, you know, from what I was investigating, it looks like they're the same stuff from like a T5. I I guess I'll find out because I'll be measuring them, because these are 123 thousandths and these vary. These are like 216 on the same, every bearing is like 216, and then like 209. There's definitely flat spots on these. I mean, I cleaned it up and I polished it as much as I could. So I mean, that's as good as it's gonna get. This, I cleaned this out. You can see there's a, you know, there's some wear in there. You know, what are you gonna do? Change everything? I mean, in the end, it'll probably run. I mean, at least we tried. But you know, if you do nothing, I mean, those things are like $275. I mean, in this part here, I don't even know. But the countershaft, that gets fucked up. That thing is like $550. Some people are asking for them. You know, like $275 all the way up to over $550. So, wow. You know, you can imagine how good these trannies are for the most part, and how they're able to hold up for so many years. But you know, you don't want, because if those things start wearing anymore, don't forget 6 thousandths on each side. I mean, it's just going to get to a point where the gears can't mesh anymore, and they'll just bind, you know, and then crack. You lose a tooth, and then it just completely wipes out. You know, and nobody drives it carefully anymore. You know, not that this guy wouldn't, but you know, you end up having, you know, somebody just drive it into the ground. That's when people sell you a used tranny, like, oh yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. How's it sound? You know, so you know, this tranny sounded loud to me. You know, there's also noise from the starter, because the starter's like loose and rattling. The pinion coming out. But between and also the bushing for the drive shaft was so bad. It was all gray matter all inside here. I cleaned this stuff a little bit, but I got to do more. But this thing is really worn out. I mean, super worn out. And it may not look like it, but they put steel bushings in here, and then it, you know, kind of ate up the drive shaft a little bit. So this is going to help, because you can't find these drive shaft yokes, and it's going to start getting expensive after a while. So what are you going to do? You know. So hopefully I can get all this stuff and put it together. It cleaned up well, and it was easy to do. You know, really, this is not hard, you know, by any means. So I'll make another video when it comes down to putting it back together when I get these parts in. It's really not that bad, you know. So first time ever doing a manual transmission, by the way. I've never done one. I've done a couple of, I did a 203 and a 205 transfer case many years ago, like over 20 years ago. No, 19 and 20 years ago, something like that. So I'm pretty impressed, you know, but it's not hard. I know that some of the parts I bought were incorrect. I bought a new input and output shaft bearing. Those are correct. I bought two of this. It ended up being, it was the way it was listed, it shows it being the same, but they really weren't. I got two of these with the thing on it, but they're all 207 bearings, and there's different letters after them, because one has this ring on it. Other ones would be just a plain bearing like this. So I got two of these. I'm just going to remove the clip on it, and then you can use it as the same bearing. It's the exact same thing. It just has the groove in it. So I gotta clean up the motor job that I did too. I got a total mess in here. The girl wants to use the driveway, the yard here, so like I gotta move these cars temporarily by the end of the week. Hopefully that one will be done, because I just got to do brake hose on it, and then this one can either be pushed in the garage when I get all this cleaned out, and this guy can be driven somewhere. So that's about it. Got lots of cleaning up to do. Hopefully I'll get that done tomorrow. As I sort out this big brain fart from 2 weeks ago that I took apart, I got the new little bearings, which is pretty much the only part I'm changing. It was definitely bad. The only other thing I noticed is that it doesn't look so good right there. And I gather it seems to get tight, this piece, when I go in. So I don't know if I can clean it up with a die grinder of some sort. But then again, I think it's supposed to hit the hit the other gear here. I don't know if this is backwards. I got to look at some of the old videos. Because that guy... Yeah, I have a feeling it goes the other way. And this very well might go in this way. That way you can contact the synchros. I got to figure it out. I get it. This go on both sides. Yes. Alrighty. I gotta play with it a little bit and look at some photos. It's been a while, and I've been cursing at another car, and parts took forever to come for this, and you know, among other things, my head not being in the right place, a lot of things going on, and hopefully this all goes back together just fine.
It's actually a bit more. I started grinding them, and I'm like, wow, another one. Okay, I missed that one. More on this side, and it was grinding when you put it in reverse, and I think it was grinding here, okay, onto the reverse gear. But you see, if this doesn't slide all the way, then it may just barely connect, and that's why it'll grind. So giving it a free path, like, I don't think this is a problem because it's such a wide gear that even though that broke, you know, there's still a ton of the gear left on it. It just, you need this to go smooth. So being that it's a little tight right there, that makes perfect sense. Now, if I put it on the correct tooth, it might be a little bit better than the tooth I was trying to put it on, but that goes to show you that, you know, every gear should be the same. It shouldn't matter. So I'm definitely going to clean that up. And of course, I had to tell you this with my air compressor on, but I'm using a lot of air. So hopefully this came out. Alrighty. So you can see where it's shiny. I just try to take the high spots off and not to let it continue to crack. You know, in a certain sense, you don't want it to be sharp either. I'm pretty sure this is fine, but I felt it a little bit sharp right there. Not the best to do with your phone, when you're holding your phone. You'd be surprised at what a difference that makes. Because anything sharp, you can just keep going. I put the bushing in, and I had it laying down here, and I bought what seemed to be an original bushing. I got a pair of them on eBay, but somebody had a modern one in. I think this is the, yeah, this is a new one also. This is one of the two that I bought. And, oh no, this is the one I took out. You see how it's joined together? More like a modern one. The one that I put in had a slice in it, so the one I had put had a slice in it, so it's not really a big deal. Anywho, so as I'm trying to set this up on a mess, come on, give me a fucking break, will you fucking please? Fucking unreal. All right, so back to this. So like I said, even if, you know, it doesn't matter which way you install it, it should go in, you know, without much problem. And it's, I want to say it's still hanging up, but I'm curious if I go this way. I think it goes this way. I'll know more when I go in. No, it goes, yeah, yeah, this has to go this way. Yeah, this is the side that slides in nicely. When, see that, now it kind of is better, because it was not doing that. It was not just sliding right off. So, the way I had it, yeah, don't forget there's no lubrication, but that's a huge improvement. And ultimately, it's really the best I can do at this point. I suppose if I had a Dremel and I really polished it, it may be a little bit better.
You know, I'll probably spend a little more time on it, but not worth videotaping. It pretty much did what it had to do. And like I said, in the case here, you got this guy, and I'm not even sure which way it goes. Like I said, it depends on the other where the main gear goes into the countershaft. No, the countershaft is for that. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So when that goes, this guy's gonna stick out, and he's gonna go. Got to go towards the synchro, unless the other piece comes towards. No, this is the thing that has to move. So if that's going forward, it might actually go this way, and then this gear. Yeah, because they were grinding each other. So that's facing the back, I think, and this should be going forward. If it's going forward, it's coming this way. So actually, it goes like this. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, ultimately it slides right on and off. Yeah, that's really not an issue now. So, some little things you want to point out. You know, when you do something like this, you want to take care of the little things. So I'm going to probably clean up just a little bit more. But other than that, I think I know how this back portion goes. And then once that's in, or I'm going to put the countershaft in, and then I'll show you what the bearings and whatnot. We'll get to that. So, I'm grinding away, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, gee, that doesn't look the same as it was, you know? And I'm feeling them each one now to see if they feel sharp at all. And like this guy here. You got to give it a little extra. Because I just went a little extra, and because I'm like, it looks funny. It almost looks like it was at a different level. And then I'm grinding it, and boom. Imagine going through all this work and being dainty with what I'm doing right now, or not doing it at all, and a little chunk flies off and gets caught in these teeth. Because essentially that's what's happening. Every time I put it in reverse, it's like, grrr, grrr, grrr. I was like, that doesn't sound good. And it's the main ones, and these are pretty expensive, a lot of these things separately. You could change them separately, but you could see how they've been kind of plastered, but they're still in good shape, because ultimately it just was kind of resting on top, making the sound worse than it was. But if this got permanently, you know, fused to it because there was just crumbs all inside it, that would be a disaster. So it's really good. See, I'm running my finger, and there's no sharp points right now. I can do that with a hair. Nope, that's good. That's good. But you know what? I'm just going to do a little extra probably on all of them, just for the hell of it. Because you just never know, you know, just to make sure that no more little pieces are going to fly off. Alright, so obviously since this part right here, you see how nice that slid off? It's not coming from a point of perfection because they're grinded. And I ended up touching on some of the ones that weren't even damaged, because they almost had like a little mushroom tip on them, and they were sharp. And it was still a little hard to get on, but it's still, depending how you hold it, it may still be a little bit hard. Like, I put it on once before I did the video, and it was a little hard. But the thing is, once you get it on, then it passes this point. You know, once it's on the thing, it's fine. It's past the point it needs to go, and it's smooth. Where before, it was binding. So, this is going to hopefully help the reverse grinding situation. So, very nice. Alright, I had to look to see where the speedometer gear went, but ultimately the speedometer gear has I forgot to film it, of course, but there's, you know, you put the bearing on first, okay, that's pretty much self-explanatory. I actually went to that press over there, the new one that I bought, and it's too low on the ground, it's a long shaft. So I actually put it in the upper corner. So just picture like putting it inside your vise and just hammering down on the shaft very easily, you know, and it just went right in. It's not like this super duper tight fit. So now I got to do now I tap this in. I actually use the rubber mallet to walk this in instead of only hitting this, because then you're kind of like hitting the ball bearings, you know. So I'd rather hit the cage. Obviously, if you have something to go over it, it's fine. But again, it's not like this super tight, you know, tolerance, you know. So now I got to put this guy in. So that pretty much does it for the ass end here. For some reason they have you do it like this because, you know, and then you're fighting this whole thing, putting it inside there. It's kind of a bitch. And a lot of the earlier ones are not like that, actually. They have a different setup where I think the bearing goes into the case and you put the snap ring in there. So I guess they were preventing, you know, doing one hard thing to make another hard thing. So, oh well, we'll figure it out. But I'm going to put that in and then I'll start lining these up. I got to put the countershaft in, and I'll try to film as much as I can, but I got into a groove and I forgot to really film that, but you pretty much get the gist of it. I really don't think it's an issue, but man, it's such a huge difference with the new bearing, you know, just with this. The walk is definitely, because it's so long here, that bearing doesn't have much room to go, and it does move. I can't say, oh yeah, it definitely moves. That's because it really does align itself with the bushing in the rear of the tranny, which is also worn on the yoke, so that's a little concerning there as well, but, you know, it is what it is. Can't do it right now, and it needs U-joints. I think that's more important to change the U-joint than worry about the play there. So, I guess I'll discuss it with the guy if he wants to do something, but I tried looking online, there's like nothing. So, that's it. You gotta keep... looking for the old parts, guys, and see what you can find when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the guys that sell these parts deliberately, like $275, $550. Like, I don't know what the difference is the gear ratios, because some are cheaper, but it's still kind of crappy to pay this much money for a really inferior transmission in a certain sense. And the fact that you know, everybody drives them until they literally blow up. And this is what would have happened with this. It would have definitely broke something big time. But hopefully this saves it. Looking at pictures is basically where it goes. I gather this is not going to be rubbing up against here for some reason, whatever. Like, there's no way like the forks can let it go that way, I gather. This guy is just slid on, and there's other things going on, but I just, you know what, I put the reverse gear in. It's definitely got to go this way. That was the other reason why I knew the other one was like that. There's like no shoulder here, and there's a shoulder over here, so now it looks even. Because there's a shoulder in the case and no shoulder on this side, so that's the way it is. Anyway, pin is holding the top one in. It's not all the way through for the bottom, for the countershaft. So now, with these ball bearings here, needle bearings, I basically had the shaft out and I put them all the way around, and it stayed with the grease. And then I slid in the whole thing with the sleeve in the middle, and I said I can't do both sides at once. I know that's going to be a disaster. So I was able to get one of them in, but one of them, you see it still has red on it. It popped out. I don't know if it's going to be able to be done later, but, you know, obviously when I had a lot of space in between when I was doing this, so like now that I go like this, I might have an easier time because it'll be more aligned, and those are not going to move down there. So I had to do one side to do this side, and hopefully I can put all the grease here. And basically what I did before, I used the washer that goes on the end, and I helped slide them down while I was jiggling this end to get the other side in. So you just jiggle this, you have it laying down while you're watching it go in. Like I said, one looks like it's going this, you know, awry, but it may not need it. I didn't count them, to be honest. You know, they give you enough. I don't know if it's exactly enough, to be honest. I thought I counted a lesser amount on the other one than the ones that they were selling me. You know, I was counting like 22 on each side, and they gave a package of 50. So I may have 3 left over, 6 left over, I should say. That being said, they were actually smaller, according to, well, I don't know. I really didn't measure these myself, but I got these because that's what they said they were, and everything that I was able to find, like an aftermarket, seemed to be bigger. But they seem to be exactly the same as like a T5. So, like, including these bearings. But the more modern transmissions have the bearings that are caged, which are better bearings, but they're really expensive and you can't find them now. So you deal with this, and you put the grease on. You just, you know, it's not that hard. And then you hold this flush to this on both ends, and that way you slide it. You try to slide it out, you know, because you got to have grease in that to hold that in as well. And that'll be enough in there. And you got to slide that out, carefully line it in. The grease holds everything in, and the sleeve is in there also doing its job. It's basically doing what this is doing on the inside, on both ends. But the sleeve doesn't seem long enough. I don't know. But then again, this has to stick in the case, so it should be fine. I think it'll all line up equally at this point. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. All right, so real quick, I moved it to the bench here because I realized the problem. It almost all fell out when I had it in the box there, because when I stand this up, this goes all the way in, and then this was coming out. So right now it looks like I have them all in. It's not going to take any more. So whatever I had before was the right amount. Let's see, this guy. That's the side they were on. I suppose you could flip this over and then you have a new wear pattern then. That's number one. But I found that a 3/4 socket, because it's a 3/4 shaft, you can't put a deep one because then the thing moves too far. So right there, it's about to hit that, and it's almost perfect. So now when you do this, okay, and then you flip it over, the bearings are not going to fall out. And now that you have it on a metal bench as opposed to a piece of cardboard that's on another rolling bench, don't do what I do. Anyway, so now I can put all these things in. I'll shove some grease in there, and then I should be able to slide the shaft out, hopefully, and then slide it right back in. It definitely requires you to have more, you know, more juice in there, more grease, and then hopefully it stays, and that's basically it. You know, I did this before when I rebuilt a transfer case a long time ago. And everybody told me that, you know, it's very similar to a standard transmission. And I got it. There's definitely more working parts in a standard. But, you know, ultimately, I've never done it before, so this is my first one. So, alrighty. So, I'm going to put these pins in on this side, and hopefully I didn't lose any. Okay, so in hindsight, which I thought was going to be a problem, but it was not, was that the sleeve. I should have put some grease on the sleeve so it stays in the center, but it actually all stayed. The bearings kept it right, and ultimately there's a notched bearing here on this side that goes onto the shaft. You put a little grease to hold it on there, and then there's a bushing, a thrust washer on this side that is notched that goes on the case. So this guy spins with the shaft. This one over here stays in the case, and the gear spins against it. But there's a silver one, like a metal one, that is actually the friction point. And I shoved that one. I put the grease and I stuck it to this one. That was a little harder getting lined up. But I ended up putting the screwdriver in. It made it a lot easier because now I got it to start. And now I'm flipping it over. And let's see here. Okay, so that was the metal one. So I wasn't sure if I should really be like sliding it in, you know. But honestly, I think I did it the easy way. You know, I don't see any issues. See, the shaft is right there. This might take a little bit of finagling. There we go. That's not going to be a problem. Okay. Now basically we line up this hole with this pin to make sure that when we put it in, it goes in properly. This is something better with two hands probably. Quart the bearings so I can give it a light tap. So that's probably trying to line up with the case. We're at the end here to some degree. Who's that? I think that's just grease coming out. It's kind of expected to be, you know, because it's through the shaft, but it's not lined up in the. Yeah, this is something that it's probably better to do it like that. That way. I think the best bet is to do this again. Just needed to go a hair more.
I'm wondering if I should have done it through the other side, but I don't think so. You don't want to run that hole, you know. Oh, you know what I did? It moves. So, hang on. Way off. Yeah, like that's, I gotta hold it up. All right, let me get a better, it's not difficult, I just need 2 hands and I gotta be able to see it better. So I saw a little piece of metal came out because I pulled it out again because something got tight and I kind of fucked this up. And what I was doing, I was trying to hit this sideways. And I didn't realize it was actually part of it. I thought it was the tang. I thought I was touching the tang because it was in the breach of the hole. So, I mean, obviously, it's fine, you know, but it just, I got to clean that up with the wheel, with the die grinder. But, you know, it's not going to be misaligned or anything like that. I don't think it's going to move because it's still going to want to travel on the same spot. Plus it does have the tang, so not really happy about it. I don't know if I can hammer it flat again. I don't think so, but obviously there was a problem there. Why it wouldn't go through. It should have guided itself, to be honest. But I'm going to take a double look at that, another look at the shaft and clean up the edge. In case I mushroomed it by hammering it, or by the other end here. I think it's a tight fitting end, but it's very possible a piece of this metal got in there because that's what a little piece of something came out. So you got to be careful, and probably best to use new every time if you can find them. Good thing to pull up the exploder view. This does not go here, and that's why it seems weird. That's why it's kind of like a flat spot. This one goes here, so that one rides on the one with the fat one with the huge tang. So it just had the same design on the inside here, so I figured it was there, but it makes sense, one on each end, you know, to keep those straight. So unfortunately, with one of the tabs messed up, but gravity is going to help me. Although yeah, this is on the, yeah, so that's the tang is on the top side. You know, this is the top, so this is the top, so. But, so that's number one, I had wrong. Number two, it's made to go tight into the case. That's a tight fit right there. It's meant to be it that way. So, but I did have a problem with the little piece that broke off. And, what do you call it? But the other problem I had, I took out, as you see, I took out the reverse gear. It's going to make it so much easier. I was kind of fighting it, and I was also having to turn it to mesh it with the gear, so not a good idea. So I don't think I'm going to make another video until both gears are in and the back part is in, or I don't know which way I'm going to go first, but I'll probably make another video since then. But definitely once I get the 2 counter gears in, I'm not going to make another video until I got all that done. I'm pretty much solved all that issue, so it really see no problems right now. Yeah, I had to take it out again because it was still not feeling right, and it ended up being the metal shim that's on that side. It was actually supposed to go the other way because it kind of wore in a certain way, and the other side had imperfections. So putting the imperfections against the thrust washer made a problem. So between lining all this up and then, yeah, if you use a hammer like that, just a whole bunch of light taps goes right in. You shouldn't have to fight it too hard, now that I realize it. And it definitely, it rolls now, where it really was awfully tight, you know. So any more loose than this, this can work its way out. This is nothing. So this is fine. What I consider fine. There was definitely something wrong before. Anyway, back to doing probably the input now. Got to put the bearing on. And I'm not quite sure though. I might actually go the other way around because I'm not sure if I'm going to go with the. I think I'm going to have to go with the pins and, you know, the bearing pieces on the inside of this.
I think. But this has to go in, and it's so hard to play with this. I would think I would just put this in first, this side. Of course, I still have to hook up the synchros, and then deal with the input. You know, that makes the most sense to me, at least. So, a word I like to use is gadgety, and that's the gadgetiness is the way I was taking it apart originally, and I was a little confused. I'm like, I know it's got to be easier than this. And I put all the parts on the output shaft, and I'm like, oh, everything fits on here, and then you just put on the front. Everything's done from outside. I try to put it all in, and the big gear at the back hits this guy over here, the washer. Because apparently when it comes out, that's what blocks it. That's why it's so heavy and big. It blocks it from going all the way. Because if you remember, I told you that this guy over here, somewhere, did I put it? That's right here. So this guy here ends up, you know, if you put it on, it'll actually touch. Watch this thing fall off the bottom. When you put this guy on, it touches cast iron. I'm like, what's stopping it? And I realized that when the teeth hit this, it's kind of like a starter almost, you know, when a starter comes out and hits it, it prevents it from going any further. So, what apparently has to happen here is I got to kind of drop this in place, you know, each piece now, one at a time, put them in their respective places, and you keep pushing it in more. Meanwhile, you got the gasket flopping around here. It's kind of stupid, because there's no way to get it in. And I'm pretty sure you can't put the countershaft in, you know, last, you know. So, yeah, I had to take out everything before I can get to the countershaft. So basically that's how you do it. One thing at a time, and then you got to fumble with the stupid snap ring. I put it all on. It all went on so nice and easy. And I'm like, and it almost goes all the way in. It's just this gear here touches. So I tried to, like, set it back and, like, get it on an angle to try to get it past here. I mean, there might be a way to get it that way, but it's highly unlikely. Not by yourself. I'm not, you know, resting on the, you know, basically the same thing as being on the floor instead of being in a, you know, like jigged up in a transmission holder or something like that. So, yeah, everything went good with this. I don't know if there was something else I had to say. I don't think so. PID's in. Yeah, all this went on very easy, very simple to figure out. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And I figured I'd put the ball bearings here or over there. I probably will put the bearing, I'll put the input shaft on first, and then put the bearing over it, and then put the snap rings in. This snap ring just goes against the case. But I just feel myself trying to get this on perfectly is not going to be easy. So, all right, that's my rant for this. That was just the stupidest thing, because now you got to fumble with the gasket and everything, and I had already tightened it all down, because it says, oh, you can't put it like this, so you got to put everything in. So I put everything in. I'm like, oh, it goes all the way up to here, and you can't get anything on. So it's like you got to put a little bit on at a time. I gather, unless there was a way to do it the way I was trying to do it, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I didn't want to ruin the gasket. I just didn't want to go through all that. So let's see what happens. So I've got a lot to learn. Yeah, this guy doesn't fit in. Because the thing, and I remember taking this out, it was like that. And I'm like, ah, fuck, how did I do that? See? So that's so weird. But apparently I'm going to loosen this again. Done this twice. And the other thing that's weird is this. Is, remember I was saying, that touches. I'm like, I thought maybe the shim would move. I'm like, if that shim was moved more. I'm like, no, the shaft, that's just for clearance. The shaft is not stopping it. I mean, what I was talking about as far as the teeth hitting, it hits that. I suppose the inside could be worn, and that's why. And maybe that's why it wears on both sides. I didn't even realize it. So, might be something to think about at this point. Should have thought about buying them, but in any case, I'm just curious if this can even go in with this just being loosened, or the whole countershaft has to be moved. if I got to move the countershaft, I might as well just get a new set of thrust washers at this point. It's kind of silly for me not to get them, but they didn't look bad, so I said, fuck it. But now I'm thinking that it prevents this from hitting all the way, and then that's why it's curved like that, just in case it does, and you kind of know you have an issue then. That's the only thing I can think of. Very interesting. Oh well, more work to do. Okay, so loosened that much again. Pretty much everything is about that far out because you can't get it around the shaft here in between. So just like that, this thing here, I just got like right there, and that'll go. But it's like you got to hold it in then when you get those bearings in, and then get this guy out. You'll be hammering. You got to bolt the back in. There's got to be an easier way. It probably involves leaving the countershaft loose, perhaps. I don't see how you can do that because you gotta be able to get it out. You know, you have to have the tail shaft housing off in order to get it off. So that's just stupid. It really is. Sorry if you're a Ford lover. This is really bogus. I don't know how many other trannies are like this, but it just seems so hard to believe. I just don't understand it. Why couldn't it be done easier? I don't understand. I just don't. Oh well. Alright, that went on pretty flawless. It's actually a lot less issue with those ball bearings than the other ones. It's just that you had to loosen it to get it in there. So now it's tightened up. I actually put a liquid Teflon tape on these bottom two bolts because they go right into the case. And there was like caked on, you know, gear lube everywhere. I guess the hard part now, because normally I'd be putting this in a, you know, press of some sort, but it's like the other one, and you know, I didn't have to go crazy with that one. It's the same idea. Just gonna, you know, knock it on for the most part, and then it's gonna be, you know, gotta square it up in the hole, and you know, keep going. You know, you get it in on the inside first, and then you're trying to hit it on the outside to get in here. You don't want to really put too much pressure there to get there. A little combination of both, you know. Then this guy goes on, and then the cover goes on. It's pretty much done then. Not too bad. So I'm gonna play with that, and obviously got to line up the shift forks to go into the into this guy here. Nice that I know the terminology. Whatever this is, the shift mechanism. So alrighty, let's see what happens. Just didn't whack that thing on. Forgot this. I was sitting over here, but wasn't going to miss it for long. But, yeah, that guy goes on first, and then you knock this in. Alrighty, it's all together. Like I said, this wasn't really that bad, but things could have been better. Things could have went better. Perhaps I could have changed a few more parts, but you know, I think it's pretty worn, so it's. I did the main thing, like those bearings, those needle bearings are the only things that are really gonna like fall apart. But if there's still noises in this tranny after that, it's just, you know, the collective wear on the teeth probably, you know, there's some play, so it is what it is. But I felt better doing it because I felt the other thing, if leaving it alone would have eventually led to an implosion. You know, the chipped teeth, you know, all that stuff. If you don't address it, there's always going to be problems, and you know, so alright, thanks for watching. I think I'm going to end the video. I don't think I really need to show you how I put it in. I'm not going to get to it right away anyway. There's another issue. The motor has low oil pressure, so I really wanted to drop the oil pan and change the oil pump. To do that, I really got to put the tranny in and then jack it up by the tranny. You know, unless I end up pulling the engine, which I really don't want to do. But I'm going to show you how it runs probably once I get it going, and then go right to the oil pump and start talking about it. Yeah, that's it. So gotta put the levers on, gotta figure out how they go, and that's it. I think that's good. I gotta put the seal in the back, And other than that, there's I got a new speedometer cable that's going to take time to put in. It's over there. And what else? Motor mount's still good. I got to still do the U joints. I never did them yet, but I got another pain in the ass car that's giving me a lot of headaches, so I'm doing that car. And today I was just waiting for parts, so I said, you know what, I better start putting this together. And sure enough, one day I got it together. Not even a half a day with filming and just looking at it and thinking, what did I do? It wasn't that bad. All right, thanks for watching. All right, so I got to take everything apart again. I shook out all these bearings. They taped it onto a board, and one is still at the bottom. I went like this. I opened it, and I shook the hell out of it. No wonder why they all fit in so nice. Oh, boy. All right. Let's see if this gets interesting. And God works in mysterious ways. I just happened to take a look at the snap ring that I had on the front. I see the dashes in it. And I go, oh my God, that's the one that was in there. So that's the one I had to put. They both fit. But the other one looks so much bigger. Doesn't look like this one is for that, but it obviously goes in further. And God forbid, I don't want that snap ring to interfere with that. The inside of this, and with all the grease, I would have been able to tell. So, oh boy. What a fucking nightmare. This is the problem with bad eyes, you know. I had cataracts done. It's the worst thing I ever did in my life because I used to see the smallest thing. And now without the reading glasses, I can't. And I think I can, and then I can't. And it proves it by having to do shit over again. I released this to get it out. And now I put it back in because I'm going to do the same way I did before. I'm going to put the shaft in and then put the bearing in. A lot of fun. 15 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How the hell did I miss it? Put a fucking shitload of grease. Because I don't want it to fall out. Ooh, that's tight. Oof. Oh, you got to slide it in. That's why. So these don't really fall out. I was trying to push it straight in. You can't push it straight in. It had to be slid in from the top. So that's a good thing, at least. Oh boy, there's the new. Yeah, that snap ring looks better. It's the same size as the hub there. This one was taller. It might have interfered with this. As you see, there's a groove here. It might have to fit right in the groove. It almost holds in the bearings, perhaps. Nah, the other landing holds back the bearings, but then it's still it could still go and dig into here. Although the clutches and the others, yeah, I got the right one in there now. All right. Apparently, I don't see these for sale, but it's pretty loose, and I measured it to be about 350 thousandths, and here is like 347, and then pretty worn. That's what gives you a little slop in the middle, you know. So I think I'm going to take it to my welder guy because they say you have to TIG weld it because you got to have penetration. I'll grind it down. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. Let's see how it comes out. Alrighty. Welded, welded, welded. On this side as well. And just like that. It almost fits for the most part. So I just got to grind a little bit. This should be definitely like a lot better than what it was because that was way too loose. Okay, as you can see, this guy didn't need anything. This thing is pretty much perfect. You know, it's possible it was changed in the past. Who knows? You know, this one here though, if you look at this side of this my side might be wearing out. You know, the more I look at it. So like, it's funny. I barely grinded it, and I did use just the cookie disc. You know, the 3M disc, just to smoothen it out.
you know, because that's really all I did. I took the high points off because the guy was judging it based on this, because this is the original casting here. So we're up over the original casting, and like I said, I barely ground it. It went right in. And I probably could have left this one thick as well, you know, because something tells me this kind of got worn as well. So leaving it thick is a good thing because it'll make up for it, because if it's going to wear through, it's going to wear through, you know, but this pretty much stays square. That's just, you know, in case I didn't want to leave this on because I just didn't want it to bind, you know, if there was any problems. It was something to give, you know. But a lot of them kind of move like that anyway, I think, even up there. So I don't think this is going to be an issue at all. And it's basically, when you hold it square now, it moves. Before it was all flopping around. Very happy with that. Good $30 I spent for that. So well worth it. Now to put this cover back on and essentially now get it in the car. Don't know about today, but this has been a pretty nice experience. Been fairly well, I want to say. And I learned something and learned, you know, how to deal with all these other things fighting me along the way, you know. The only thing I would have done differently, like I said, I started grinding this down as I was making it flat, because I'm like, well, the original is here. But I go, wait a minute, the original is here and it's fitting. So then I started realizing this most likely wore down, even though it's smooth for the most part. It couldn't have not worn down, you know. So hopefully this makes up for it, because the more play that it has, the more it's going to wear, I think. You know, but unless, you know, the riding on it just basically wore it out. But I put the higher welded side on that side, because it doesn't seem like it wore that much on this side. So hopefully that's good, and hopefully that, you know, this moving like this is not an issue. The fact that it's only grabbing on 2 points, which it's pretty much, that's the way it always is, you know, because if this is square, this doesn't really have any bearing. It could have mattered a little bit, but then I would have just I should have just built it up even more, had them built this up even more. But I think it's as good as it's going to get. I think at this point, from now on, all I got to do is change this piece, if it ever had to be changed, you know. And granted, I don't know how much time it has, but, you know, it has a slope on it. I don't think it's going to bend over or fail dramatically. I think if you start feeling play in this whole, you know, system again, that's the time where, you know, okay, something may be wrong. We have to pull this out and change a part in there. But, you know, I bet you this part isn't even that expensive. You know, I know it sounds silly to not change it, but I didn't know really what was loose and what wasn't loose. But again, I don't see it like failing dramatically in 10,000 or 20,000 miles. And that may take years for this car to reach that amount of mileage. You know, and it can only wear when it's in that gear. And since I believe, I know this is neutral, but then if you clamp on the front would be, so every time you go in third gear, that's where it's going on. And I think the higher gear you go, maybe the more load it has. But trying to think, I guess, yeah, that would have more load, because going backwards would be second gear, I believe. So if that goes backwards, then how does that work then? This transfers front to this, and this guy kind of stays in the middle then. So this guy's gotta be touching something. Does that go in that? No, of course not. Let's see. It's not touching that gear down there. Oh, you know what it is? I gotta take these out if I'm gonna play. Yeah, but then I'm holding the. Well, no, you see. That's right. It's just, if you go slow, you see how that's moving at a different rate than that. So that, I believe, is second gear. And then that would be third, because it's the front now connecting to the rear directly.
Yeah, that's 1-to-1 ratio. Oh no. That's moving faster as well. So that's, because this has to be first gear when this is in neutral. Which both of them are now, yeah, that just transfers it directly onto there. No synchros needed because you're stopped. When that clicks off, third gear joins them together. Second gear would have to be this way because you're connecting the rear. Yeah, that would be second gear. So that's spinning at a different ratio when you look at the front. Yeah, but that's not an indication necessarily because that can make up for it. That's the same gear. So even though that's spinning indifferent to that, does that make sense? And that's spinning indifferent to that as well. Forgive me, I just can't get it wrapped around my head, you know, which way is which when it comes to that. But this one feels like it's going 1-to-1 ratio. Even though this is going at a different rate here. That's funny that it doesn't lock the two. I thought it would lock the two gears together somehow, but I realize it really doesn't. Everything has to transfer through the counter shaft. So yeah, so this has got to be the same teeth as that, and this is the same teeth as that. So that would make it the 1-to-1 ratio, and why it appears to be, because this is moving faster than this, but this speeds it up to make it the same. This is moving faster than this guy here. It's locked in though. Definitely passing. Anyway, this is not my forte to figure out which one is which. But obviously I'm pretty sure that is third gear. Second gear is back. So third gear has the most load, and that's why this one might be worn. I don't know. But it fits a hell of a lot better now. I feel a lot better giving it back to the guy with this. Because you can see it's actually moving when I'm holding this square. Because it'll be square inside there. Alright. Pretty much done with this. You saw me already put it together a couple of times. This time it's going to stay together. And the next video will be in the car. Well, putting it in the car, along with doing the U-joints. Just to show you real quick again, I got all these holes aligned. I got 3 bolts in. I just want to take it out and show you guys what I had to do. In the end, I was saying, yeah, the wear is on that side. I'm going to make the fork go over there. Well, I ended up flipping the forks because if you go like this with this guy, which is the way I had it, see the metal in the front there? I had it facing the front. And I could be wrong. It could be very possible it was the other way, and this is not worn at all. It's just, you know, the nature of everything. I really didn't take heed to which way it was. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter, but once you weld it up, you're not really sure. So now when I put this guy in and line them up, okay, I'm pushing up. See what's happening? It's pushing back down on me. Even when I rotate that into the proper hole, you look at these holes, and although the gasket is off a little bit, it's not really lining up. So if you try to sit there and force this, like I'm holding this like this, it seems to be, no matter how square you try to get one hole, another hole is not square. See, it's not, you can see casting in behind it. I'm pushing straight up, and unless I rotate it, when I rotate it, I get the line lined up, and these are not. So I said, oop, I either got to grind off more, or I said, you know what, let me flip it over. Maybe that's the way it was supposed to be, but most likely not. I'm pretty sure that didn't matter. It was just a matter of, it's more in the center this way than the other way. So okay. So you already saw in the beginning I had 3 bolts lined up. Again, this is much better with 2 hands. Screw in this bolt, and obviously then the other side, this looks like the gasket is not aligned. Okay. Alright, so 2 bolts are in. There's, you know, I could feel just a little bit of play within the ball holes, but that seems to fit a lot better. But there's like 0 play now as far as the sloppiness. So this, when you shift it inside the car, it should feel a lot tighter. And that's pretty much, I guess, with a lot of cars, what the problem would be in that case, when you have you have it so sloppy, you know. And it's got to make for quicker shifts and better timing shifts where, you know, nothing is binding. Although there's not really much to bind. It's not like you have. This only does first and reverse, so there's very little chance of you getting that mixed up with this. So, you know, I'm sure it'll be fine. But just wanted to add that in, you know, how to do that. It's either that or start grinding it, but then what's the point, you know? Then the other side may be a little too loose then once I grind that side to fit. So I just assumed this was the best bet. Worst case scenario, if I have any problems or I feel major vibrations or anything like that, I am sure that I can just grind a little more off it. And, you know, maybe it needs to be a little bit looser. I don't know. I think I'm going to research it now, actually, before I even button this down. But if I make another video on it, then that's because I found out something. Well, I gathered I would have figured out there was a problem if I wasn't doing something right. So I have to put in the gear shifts on. First and reverse work fine. In fact, you know, when this is in, this is neutral. Where are we now? That's first gear. Right into reverse. I'm going, oh no, that's reverse. I'm going this way. And I'm coming back. And this is first gear. Very smooth. This is third gear, which it binds a little bit, but if I just back off like if I just feel it back off a hair, for the most part it's free. But when I go into second, it's tight, you know. And then if I back off a slight hair like that, it's a lot more free. But I got to kind of hold it with 2 hands. Like right there, I have it that smooth as anything. So I could feel though, it almost feels like the synchro inside is not in its center. So I hope I don't have that other piece on backwards. Chances are it's just the fork. Because I think, yeah, it's clicking in the middle, but at the end it changes its amount of throw it has because the fork is tight. Because don't forget, you have something that is kind of going, I guess it is still going straight, but I have a feeling it's just have a little too much throw on it. I should probably flip it back over again. That's my feeling. And then grind that side. Unless I just keep it like this, because even this side is just, actually that right there feels fine, you know? That's crazy how sometimes I'm hitting it and it, you know, maybe just a little bit off this side. Maybe I'll leave it in this way and just get it so the second gear feels good. And then, what do you call it? Then the first gear will be, you know, maybe perfect. That's awfully smooth right there. Oh, that's because that was neutral. Haha. See, there's just the tiniest bit of binding. So if I back off, then it's super easy. So I don't know if it's a matter of this being adjusted. Don't know how to do it yet, or if it's just that fork is just throwing too much because there's too much meat on that fork. So it feels nice and loose. But then, if this is just a little bit tight, going backwards a little, I'm holding it now, I just got hung up. I don't know if I can see if I hold it like that, I can feel the same kind of tightness. So something tells me that this is really what the culprit is. It actually, see right there, it binded, and this was stuck in here. Yeah, so watch. Right there it gets tight. Now it's hitting that, but when I come back and I hold it with my finger, it wants to keep going. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's too easily to bind up on it. So maybe with the fluid in it, it'll be fine, but I don't think so, because I just think it needs a little more off it. So it's not a big deal. And see, I went like that and actually made it tighter. And like I said, I'll decide whether or not I go more off the other side then. Yeah, so basically this is shifted all the way up. Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Much smoother than I had it before, because it was binding. Can only go so far. It needs a little bit of play, but that's dictated by, you know, how you feel it. In fact, right there, it's like I don't feel it and then I do feel it. Let's see if I back off just a hair. Hang on a second. I'm going to hold that, because technically, if I hold it, I shouldn't, you know, if you're one of those people who hangs on your linkage. Yeah, hang on a second. I gotta put this down for a second. Yeah. So it's like I just put this up a little bit. You know, there's obviously some drag, but it's virtually the same whether you pin it, you know, to lock it in place, back it off. If I, you know, like technically if I back it off a hair, if it was out of adjustment, this would feel looser. I mean, very hard to tell the difference, if anything. Would be good, like, if I just not even look at it, hit it with my elbow. Yeah, it's basically the same. I think I tried flipping it over the other way again, but I was like, no, I'm going to keep it the way I had it, because it was fine in the low gear, and some came on the lower gear, whatever, the third gear. So it, I shaved off a little bit on that side as well. So I don't see it being an issue. I was thinking about flipping it over and getting the case to align, which it probably does align now. But I'm like, well, if the other one was close, and this has got to be the better way to do it, because of just the sheer wear of everything. Yeah, I don't see this being an issue now. You know, and one side was welded up more than the other, so I concentrated on that. And that's why I think it was kind of cocking, and, you know, the fork was going like that. So I really feel that was it. And that's neutral. If I hold this, am I right? Yeah. Hang on. Oh yeah, it's neutral. It's hard to do when you have zero load on it. Hopefully those teeth are okay with that vice grip on it, but no, it's fine. Alrighty, I think that's it now. Alright, well, I got to bolt on the bolts from the front, from the cover here, and then I'm all set as far as building the transmission itself is concerned. Alright, so I changed the U-joints. You know, I gather if you guys are watching what I'm doing, you should know how to do this also. I mean, maybe you'd find it entertaining, but it was actually, it went in really easy. I don't know if they're just, some of these things are made in America now, and that everything is easy, or you know, the Chinese stuff didn't work out. But so I changed the U-joints. They went in really easy, so I didn't really film it. it was really a breeze, you know. So over here, I was saying how it's 2 different levels here, but I actually measured. I actually feel it now that I cleaned it off. It goes up and then it goes down right here and then comes back up again. So it's kind of like, I think that's just the seal. So it was 1.495, almost an inch and a half. But over here was actually right on the money. Oh, hang on. I ain't holding it right. Yeah, this is 1501. But that's also like $14.99 if anything. It's not worn. I think it's just really, that was the seal digging into it. So hopefully the new neoprene seal, which the other one was a rope seal, so it was kind of thick. And I don't know if it was this that was actually rubbing on it or what. Or this is just maybe the end of the bushing was cutting into it. Because because it was a more modern bushing that was in there. So I think it's dug in. Because maybe they hammered it in and they mushroomed it because they didn't use the proper tool. Something along those lines. But it's actually not that bad. Not nearly as bad as I thought. So that's a good thing.
Alright, let's see how sucky this is. So this guy was here. I definitely don't feel like I had my Wheaties today. I need something to prop this fucker up. Oh. Okay. So if you work like a dummy like me on cardboard, you get the back up over the edge there. And then you got to kind of use 2 hands now to figure it out. That ain't gonna work. I really should have thought of this. I thought, oh yeah, I'll film it. This will be good. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's see if this comes out on camera. Hang on a second. Good thing with me, you always have like a harmonic balancer laying on the floor in range of your hands. This ain't gonna be easy. Partly the rust going in my eyes ain't that good. I really could just use a fucking jack. That would make a lot more sense. It came down so easy, but I guess that's because, you know, kind of fell down probably. I gotta, you know, I'm all the way in the back here. Oop, I guess that moved the camera. Let's see. That's all that. All right. If I can get both my arms here under the weight. Okay. Now we gotta kind of line it up. Hopefully nothing gets messed up here. Hopefully the clutch disc doesn't move out of place. I don't think it's supposed to. Also, I might not be actually lined up. You know what I'm saying? Like if the splines don't oh boy. It was partially in. That's partially out. Whoops. What's going on here? I'm not quite sure what I did. I think it's in the bearing. Oh, cow. Because I was playing with this bearing. Oh yeah, bearing is loose now. I gotta get the light. Oh yeah, bearing is ready to fall out. I was playing with it before. Oh well, I'm just blocking the camera anyway. Yeah, there's no clips that hold it on. So it's kind of weird, but I kind of had it in and now I don't, but I was playing with it. I actually took it out to check the bearing. And, interesting. All right, let me try to get to the bottom of this. All right, there's absolutely clips there. As you can see, those round, they look round on the top. That's just the spring that holds them in place. And I either knocked them out or I did have it out, so I may have not, in the end put them in the right place. So I think this will pretty much go in. Hang on a sec. Let me just get... Let's see, are those clips still in? Yeah, I'd have to say so. Can't really see that bottom one. Can I see from here? I think it is. Alright, sorry if you really can't see anything. Let me get out of sheer embarrassment. How about I not film this? I guess it's not so hard to figure out where you are if 2 weeks has passed. So I jacked up the bell housing here. I had a jack stand under here in the beginning, if you remember, and because the top of the tranny, the bolts were closer on the top than they were at the bottom. So you got to jack it up to make it even. And I only got one hand here. Still can't get it. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to play with this. I may have to jack it up more actually, and then it should slide right in. Shouldn't be too big. What a pain in the ass. As you can see, it's real close to the body right here. I kept fucking with it to try to get it in. Like, this was a real pain in the neck. But I basically had to jack it here and kept pivoting, have this lower than the engine, I should say. And then I would pivot the tail shift housing back to try to just kind of lever myself into the hole. I mean, everything was lined up, but everything is just, when you have big teeth like that on the tranny and everything's got to be perfect. If not, you're constantly playing with it. So, that was something. I am sweating bullets right now, but it's in. I don't know how much more I'm going to film of this, but it's pretty much straightforward. I got to change the speedometer cable, and I got to get the drive shaft in, but I got to change the pitman seal. Pitman, I keep saying pitman. Pinion seal. So I'm probably gonna fast forward a bit unless I find something worthy to film. But it's pretty much straightforward after that. You're not talking about a big deal here. So you got 2 bolts for the motor mount, 2 bolts on this part of the tranny mount, whatever, and there's 4 bolts holding the cross member in between here. It holds bracket here for the emergency brake cable. Other than that, it's not really eventful. So and two linkages, which I got to get new things, and I may want to put those spring-loaded Huyas because they didn't have them, or if they maybe did have them and they were just pretty worn. It's something there, but it didn't seem right, and everything that creates play in the shifter matters. So I'll see. The worst case scenario, I can just put a little washer just to take up the slack, so this is not going in and out like that as well. So, all right, wish me luck.
Transmission is in. It's on the mounts. I didn't put the drive shaft in yet because I got to do the pinion seal. But this is how the clutch thing looks like, and this is something where no mechanic ever fucking does anything about it. I mean, if this was supposed to be a perfect fit, it ain't anymore, and it's kind of like D-shaped, you know, because I guess it's pushing on that edge there, and it just overall enlarged this whole hole. I don't know if it was some kind of weird shape. This part fits in the part that receives it, you know, so it's made to like float in between this area here. So what I'm contemplating is using this metric bolt and cutting a piece off of this the same depth as that, and the metric bolt does fit through the piece down there. So if I just cut it as deep as that and then wing it down tight, it should travel on that, you know. And it doesn't have to be that wide either. It seems like this was way wider than it needed to be, although I don't know, I guess there was a washer on here at first, so we can still do a washer of some sort. Not that it really matters, but you know, I guess subtract the rusty there where the washer is, because this is not smooth either, and it's just more bound to have a problem. And like this bushing here, it's almost this size, you know, when you start looking at it, or looking at it from this side, it's like really close. And ideally, if it could fit, you know, if it could fit through there, and then you button it down, you put a bunch of anti-seize on it, it's got to be better than what it was, because it's pretty bad, you know. Yeah, so that's something I'm going to try to do right now. So I took a die grinder to it, and then I put a step drill bit in there, and then this little guy fits right in. Boom. That's got to be better than nothing. And it's not going to spin on the bolt. It's going to spin on this bushing. You know, I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm going to put some anti-seize on this, and I got 2 O-rings here, one on the, you know, either side, kind of hold the grease in probably against it, you know, because I try to make it as thick as the other one. I'm not quite sure where it went. I gather it was some kind of bushing. I don't know if another bushing is replaceable, but as you could tell, it looks like once those 2 O-rings are in, it'll give it some interference, you know, to keep it in the middle, and but it will hold in the anti-seize. I think this will work out pretty good. Alrighty, everything is in for the transmission. Where am I now? Linkage is in. That's the linkage. Where's the? I'm kind of far back of the car, so I'm using my zoom. Hang on. What the heck am I looking at? Oh, that's the edge of the thing. Hang on. All right. So linkage is in. Trying to see that's all adjusted, and you see what I did there. I have a stop nut on the outside because I kind of wanted the bushing in the middle to not actually be completely immobile, you know, so I made it tight, but it can move if it really came down to it. Like the whole nut would move, and that'd be fine. And then the stop nut on the very end blocks it from coming out with the threads. So that's all good. I got to fill the, I put the bottom drain plug in right there. The side one is still loose. Anyway, you know, everything's all good except for this pinion seal. I popped it all out. It actually came out fine, you know. So I look at the new one. I put the seal surface in the thing, and it seemed to be a little bit on the tight side, but I was like, oh, that's good. It's a good tight seal. I got it in, you know, but I just figured the outside was correct because it looked very close, but in reality, it is not not too close. Hang on. So the outside circumference of the original one is like between the other two, so there's kind of no mistaking it, and there's no way this is gonna make up for the size difference. So I gotta source one more part, and then I can fill up the fluids, put the drive shaft in, and test drive it. This was tight because it's actually 1 5/8, where the other one is 1.55. So that's a lot. It was tight, you know, that wouldn't have worked. But the outside diameter is only 3 inches. And there is another one on Rock Auto. Of course, it's that one. But all the other ones for all the years, they all show that one 7.5 and 8.5. But then it says hardtop convertible and something else. And I'm like, well, that's the only choices you have. So obviously it's a little different rear end. Don't know why it's doing this to me. What else is new? But I gotta go find this part now. We're sorry, your package was delayed. What should have taken 1 day took 3. Alright, unfortunately people are playing music, but this is the new seal. And as you can see, it actually fits like it should. I cleaned that up. And it just goes right on, and that'll fit right into there. And now we just pop it in and put the yoke back on. Let's see if that's going to stay. I think this will. It's a little bit bigger, but it has 2 diameters. So it goes right. I put it right on the edge there. So unfortunately, a lot of noise here. There we go. This guy goes in. Alrighty. That was pretty good. Like I said, I'm sorry about all the noise. Oh, a lot of offensive language. Alright. You know, ultimately, you're not re-crushing the collar or anything like that. You know, it's basically like the way it goes in plus a little tiny bit more. This doesn't, you know, this has nothing to do with, you know, getting at a certain torque or anything like that, you know. But at least it's going to stop leaking now. So I'm going to refill it, and that's it. Right, this was way higher before, but now the clutch pedal is very close to it, because there was a lot of play. The same bushing that was underneath, there were 2 more here at either side here, so I just over adjusted it in order to make up for that. There's still clutch pedal free play. There is, to me, there's a tiny whine from the what do you call it? What's going on here? I got the brake on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, like all old trannies, you know, that's the way. Sometimes you can't get it into gear because the tranny is a certain way. But obviously the brake was on, so that kind of makes it find its center. I already test drove this, and it drove pretty good. It's a lot quieter. There's still, you know what it is, the bearings were bad in it, but the second and first gear have a bit of a whine to the gears. It's understandable with that much play in those bearings. So, you know, it is what it is. I have the idle very low on this because it just seems like it wants to crunch in gear no matter what, even though the clutch is
fully adjusted now. You know, it's just one of those things where you gotta kind of go low. So now I'm forward, and it goes right into reverse now. Now, initially getting started, you know, when you're, you know, kind of tilting forward, like right now I'm level, so it goes nice and easy in both first and second. That's kind of a normal first gear whine. And second sounds kind of normal too. It gets a little louder the faster you go. It's actually better than it was, I think. The bearings got to kind of find their center. See right there, that kind of like the light acceleration where there's less load. See, it seems like if I go harder, there's no load, and when I get to a stop sign here, boom! It's almost like it feels like an automatic where it goes down into low. So I think definitely success. The drive shaft had to help as well. This feels a little bit funny, like I feel like I gotta kind of push it back further. So I don't know if this shifter is off a bit and that's gonna play with it. I mean, the other thing is I may have to mess with the shifter because I messed with the fork, you know, I welded it and then grinded it down. So I hope these noises aren't because of that. See, look, I let go of the gas, you don't hear it. That's kind of normal. Before I was getting so much whine on acceleration and decelerate. Now I decelerate, I don't hear anything. So that's, you know, that's not terrible. See right there, it could sound kind of whiny, but you know, there's a new wear pattern now, you know? So it's gonna make noise. It's kind of like the rear end gears, you know, in a certain sense with a manual transmission. I've done that, see, and you get a little clunk there, but you know what, you gotta let the tranny slow down a little bit. Also, I removed a, you know, the return spring for the gas pedal is in the gas pedal, and I had an extra one. And it was way too tight because it just fit nicely. But if I really want to get it low, I got to put an additional spring probably, or just see what the deal is with this original spring, or maybe get a new one. See right there, if you're moving, see. I gotta you gotta let the tranny catch up with itself, and then it goes right into, like I'm going in reverse right now. Okay, and then you go forward, it'll go right in then. So that's really kind of normal, you know. It's 70 years old, literally. So, and it was worn for a long time. I really felt that it didn't have much. See right there, it kind of feels funny when I go into second. That feels kind of normal, but when I was going to first. Somebody's behind me. So I go into low. See, it wants to grind right there. I gotta like really push it back to go forward. You know, I gotta really push it forward. Sorry, I gotta push it back to go up. So I don't know if that's part of the noise. I don't know how sloppy that shift fork is supposed to be, although third gear feels nice. It's actually pretty quiet. So I just hope nothing is binding, you know, per se. I can play with the gear shift. There's got to be something going on there, but it's probably fine. Because, you know, when you're in the center, it's locked. And when you go all the way one way, it's all the way one way. So it really... The gear shift really just goes all limp, you know, when it's not connected to the tranny. So I think it's kind of okay. I had a neutral third gear. Now this oil pressure gauge, it wasn't even moving, and then it started moving. I jiggled the wire. Somebody messed with the wire. The thing is, I know it definitely had no oil pressure at one point when I was doing all this because of it was low 3 quarts of oil, so that's a problem. So I really wanted to drop the pan and see, but you know what? I think I'm gonna just put a manual gauge on it and just second gear. I think I'm gonna try to just make sure that the oil pressure is very low because it's barely reading over here. This is, you know, revving the engine up. It's like I mean, it moves up, so I gather there's something, but it's still saying it's on 0. So it's like it went up to 0. Now, right there, it went a little bit over. But all in all, this is really feeling good. I mean, just with the exhaust buttoned up now, you can actually hear the engine and hear the transmission. You know, that was part of the problem. It's like if you just keep driving around with a super loud exhaust system, you're not going to hear anything that's wrong with the car. You know, but I kind of like that. I let go of the gas, it gets quiet, and when I get to the light, or right there, like that even the slight acceleration with less load, it kind of gets a little noisy. But all these gears now, they were meshing for so long in a bad place that, you know, now they're in a new place. So it may not be bad, but you know, I can't say it's entirely good, but it's better than it was. And these gears, I don't think they're going to break, but it could be forever noisy, you know. But there's nice, fresh synthetic fluid now in the tranny, and hopefully this will be good. And I think that's going to be the end of this particular video. And, you know, minor adjustments, I'm not going to include them. And I really feel that there's a huge improvement. And the only thing I'm going to probably make another video on is the oil pressure, because that might involve having to change the oil pump, for that matter. So I'll find out, but I'm hearing like a slightest bit, I don't want to say rod knock, but it's kind of like that because it's low and it's warmed up already, you know. So that's going to be another video, but I thank you for watching. That's been basically rebuilding the tranny and doing a bunch of other little things. I never filmed the exhaust part, but I don't know if I got a good video of that. I think I'm going to add that in just to show you. Just made it myself using basically three pipes from I forgot if it was AutoZone or Rock Auto. I think not Rock Auto. I think I bought 2 90-degree pipes. It's made from 3 90-degree pipes, because you get the 90-degree pipe and you cut it in half, expand it, you got a little bit of an extension in the middle there, you know. I got the right gaskets for it, but this is run really good if I get some oil pressure on it. Alright, that's going to be the end of the video. Thanks for watching.